Listen to me very carefully, for what I am about to share with you will mark the dividing line between the life you have been living and the life you are destined to live. For 25 years, I studied the minds of more than 500 of America's most successful men, searching for the common thread that bound them all together. I discovered something so profound, so simple, yet so powerful that it has remained hidden from the masses, who struggle daily with poverty, failure, and despair. These men, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, all possessed a secret morning ritual that set their minds in motion toward success before their feet even touched the floor. You wake each morning, don't you, with the same thoughts of worry, the same fears about money, the same doubts about your abilities? You rise from your bed already defeated, your mind poisoned with the limitations of yesterday. This is the poverty of mind that afflicts 98% of all people, and it is the very reason they remain chained to lives of quiet desperation. But today, right now, as you listen to my words, that chain is about to be broken forever. What would you say if I told you that the first 5 minutes after you open your eyes each morning determine whether you will succeed or fail that day? What would you think if I revealed that every great fortune, every remarkable achievement, every breakthrough in human progress began not in an office or a factory, but in the quiet moments of dawn when a determined mind spoke certain words with absolute faith and conviction? The human mind is a transmitting and receiving station. When you speak words with deep emotion and faith, you send a command directly to your subconscious mind, which is connected to infinite intelligence. This is not mere theory. This is scientific fact, proven through decades of careful observation. Your subconscious mind does not question or doubt. It simply accepts what you tell it with feeling, and begins immediately to manifest it in your physical world. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle. Each morning, before the sun painted the sky, he would stand before his window and speak his intentions for the day with such power that his very presence commanded respect from all who met him. Thomas Edison knew this secret. In the quiet of his laboratory, before beginning his work, he would affirm his connection to the infinite source of all knowledge. Rockefeller, Ford, Schwab, they all began their days not with the newspaper or idle chatter, but with deliberate, purposeful words that programmed their minds for victory. For too long, you have been the victim of your own mental laziness. You have allowed your mind to run wild like an untamed horse, carrying you wherever fear and doubt wish to take you. But the 11 phrases I am about to give you are like a bridle and bit for that wild horse. They will give you mastery over your own mind, and through that mastery, control over your entire life. These are not merely positive thoughts or empty affirmations. These 11 phrases contain the concentrated essence of success philosophy, distilled from the actual practices of men who built empires from nothing, who transformed entire industries, who left their mark on history. Each phrase is a key that unlocks a different door in your subconscious mind. Together, they form a master key that opens the vault of unlimited achievement. The transformation that awaits you requires only 2 things. First, that you speak these phrases every single morning without fail, and second, that you speak them with absolute faith and burning emotion. The words without the feeling are dead. But when you combine these words with the fire of belief, you set in motion forces that will reshape your entire existence. Prepare yourself, for you are about to learn the morning ritual that separates the masters of life from its victims. I am the master of my fate. Let these 6 words burn themselves into your consciousness, for they contain the power to lift you from the depths of despair to the heights of achievement. I once knew a man who had lost everything: his business, his savings, his confidence. He sat in my office with tears in his eyes, convinced that external forces had conspired to destroy him. I gave him only these 6 words and told him to repeat them every morning with the force of his entire being. 6 months later, he returned to thank me, For he had not only recovered his losses, but had built a fortune twice as large as before. You see, most people believe they are leaves blown about by the wind of circumstance. They blame the government, the economy, their education, their family, everything and everyone except the one person who holds all the power, themselves. But I tell you now, based on my study of the most successful minds in history, that you are not the victim of fate, you are its author. Every circumstance in your life today is the direct result of the thoughts you held in your mind yesterday. When William Ernest Henley wrote, "I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul," he was not penning pretty poetry. He was stating a law as immutable as the law of gravity. Your thoughts create your circumstances. Your dominant mental attitude determines whether you attract success or failure, wealth or poverty, happiness or misery. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operation of universal law that works with mathematical precision. Consider Charles M. Schwab. He began as a day laborer in Andrew Carnegie's steel mills, earning $1 a day. But Schwab understood that he was the master of his fate. Each morning before reporting to work, he would stand before his modest mirror and declare with unshakable conviction that he would one day run those very mills. He did not hope, he did not wish, he commanded his subconscious mind to accept this as reality. The result? He became president of the United States Steel Corporation and earned a salary of over $1 million a year, at a time when such a sum was almost unimaginable. Henry Ford faced ridicule and mockery when he announced his intention to build a motor car for the masses. Learned men explained in detail why it was impossible. Financial experts proved with figures that he would bankrupt himself. But Ford knew a secret they did not. He was the master of his fate. Each morning he renewed his mental declaration of sovereignty over circumstances. When setbacks came, and they came by the dozens, he reminded himself that fate was not something that happened to him, but something he created with each thought, each decision, each action. Your subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever seeds you plant in it. When you declare, "I am the master of my fate," you plant seeds of personal power, self-determination, and unlimited possibility. But this must be done with feeling. Stand before your mirror each morning, look yourself directly in the eyes, and speak these words as if your very life depended on them, because it does. Feel the power surge through you. Feel the chains of victimhood falling away. Feel yourself taking command of your own destiny. The law of attraction operates through the subconscious mind. When you truly believe you are the master of your fate, your subconscious mind begins to attract the people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with this belief. You stop repelling success with thoughts of limitation and begin magnetically drawing it to you with thoughts of power and possibility. This is not mysticism. This is the practical application of mental law that has been proven in the laboratories of life by every person who has ever risen from obscurity to greatness. My definite chief aim guides my every action. These 8 words constitute the starting point of all achievement. Without a definite chief aim, you are like a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the currents of life choose to take you. But with a definite purpose fixed firmly in your mind, you become like a guided missile, moving with unstoppable force toward your target. I spent years in poverty and frustration before Andrew Carnegie revealed to me the supreme importance of definiteness of purpose. He told me that 98 out of every 100 people fail in life because they never decide exactly what they want. They have wishes, hopes, and dreams, but no definite chief aim. They scatter their energies in a dozen different directions and wonder why they never seem to get anywhere. Edwin C. Barnes was a nobody from nowhere when he decided his definite chief aim was to become the business partner of Thomas Edison. He had no money, no connections, no special talents. But he had something far more valuable, a burning desire backed by definiteness of purpose. Each morning, before the world awoke, Barnes would stand in his shabby room and declare his intention to work with Edison. He did not say he hoped to work for Edison. He declared he would be Edison's partner. When Barnes finally made his way to Edison's office, he arrived looking like a tramp. But Edison, who could read men's minds through their eyes, saw something different. He saw the fire of definite purpose burning so brightly that it could not be extinguished. Years later, after Barnes had become wealthy as Edison's partner in the dictating machine business, Edison said, "I gave him the opportunity he sought because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded." Your definite chief aim is not a wish or a hope. It is a command to your subconscious mind. When you state it each morning with absolute conviction, you activate forces within yourself that begin immediately to transform that aim into physical reality. John D. Rockefeller knew at age 23 that his definite chief aim was to become the world's greatest oil refiner. He spoke it, he breathed it, he lived it. Every decision, every action was guided by this central purpose. The result was Standard Oil and a fortune that staggered the imagination. The principle of concentration of effort demands that you focus all your energies on your definite chief aim. Scattered thinking leads to scattered results. But concentrated thinking, guided by a definite purpose, produces concentrated power. Your subconscious mind works 24 hours a day to manifest what you have clearly defined and emotionally charged. It never sleeps, never rests, never stops working on your behalf, but only if you give it a clear target. Each morning, as you speak this phrase, see your definite chief aim as already accomplished. Feel the joy of achievement. Experience the satisfaction of success. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and reality. When you consistently visualize your goal as achieved while declaring your definite purpose, you create a mental pattern that your subconscious mind must follow. This is the secret of all great achievement. Knowing exactly what you want and maintaining that vision with unwavering faith until it materializes in your life. I possess within me all the power I need. Stop for a moment and consider the profound truth of these words. You have been taught to believe in limitation, to accept that you need something outside yourself to succeed. But I tell you now, based on irrefutable evidence, that you already possess within your own mind all the power necessary to achieve anything you can conceive and believe. Thomas Edison had only 3 months of formal schooling. By every external measure, he should have remained an unknown failure. But Edison understood a secret that his educated critics did not. He possessed within himself access to infinite intelligence. When faced with a problem, he would retire to his private room, sit in complete darkness and silence, and affirm his connection to the source of all knowledge. In this state, ideas would flash into his mind, solutions would appear, inventions would reveal themselves. More than 1,000 patents stand as monuments to his faith in the power within. The average person uses less than 10% of their mental capacity. Think about that. You are operating at 1/10 of your potential, and yet you wonder why success eludes you. But the power is there, waiting to be accessed, waiting to be commanded, waiting to be released. George Washington Carver demonstrated this truth in a manner that cannot be disputed. Born into slavery, without formal education, he became one of the greatest scientists of his age. When asked how he discovered over 300 uses for the peanut, he replied simply, "I went into my laboratory and said, 'Dear Creator, please tell me what the peanut is for.' Then I waited for the answer." Your subconscious mind is connected directly to infinite intelligence, the source of all knowledge, all power, all solutions. But doubt acts as a barrier, blocking this connection. When you affirm each morning that you possess within you all the power you need, you remove this barrier. You open the channel through which unlimited wisdom and ability can flow. This is not theory, this is demonstrated fact, proven by every great achiever in history. Self-doubt is the great crippler of human potential. You have been programmed since childhood to believe in your limitations rather than your possibilities. You have been told what you cannot do so often that you have forgotten what you can do. But Carnegie was right when he said that no man is limited except by his own thoughts. The walls that seem to imprison you are made of nothing more substantial than your own beliefs. When you change those beliefs, the walls disappear. Each morning, as you speak this affirmation, feel the surge of unlimited power flowing through you. You are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are an expression of it. The same power that moves the planets, that causes the seed to become the tree, that transforms the caterpillar into the butterfly, flows through your mind. Your only task is to recognize it, accept it, and direct it toward your definite chief aim. When you do this with faith and persistence, miracles become commonplace, the impossible becomes inevitable, and you discover that you have always possessed the power to transform your life. Today I will go the extra mile in all I do. This principle has created more millionaires than any other single factor. It is so simple that most people overlook it, so powerful that those who apply it cannot fail. Yet the majority of people do only what they are paid to do, only what is required, only what they must. And then they wonder why opportunity passes them by. Charles M. Schwab was once asked by Andrew Carnegie to manage a steel mill that was losing money. The other managers had failed to turn it around despite their best efforts. Schwab took the job with one condition: that he be allowed to manage it his way. His way was the principle of going the extra mile. He worked not 8 hours, but 12, not because he was paid for the extra time, but because he was determined to render more service than required. He insisted that every employee under him adopt the same principle. Within 1 year, that failing mill became the most profitable in the entire Carnegie system. Schwab's reward? A bonus of $1 million for a single year's work, in an era when $1,000 was a fortune. The law of increasing returns governs all of nature and all of human activity. When you give more than is expected, you receive back more than you gave. This is not sentiment. This is mathematical law. The farmer who tends his crops with extra care receives an extra abundant harvest. The merchant who provides extra service builds a loyal customer base. The employee who does more than required inevitably rises to positions of greater responsibility and reward. Most people approach their work with the attitude of, how little can I do and still get by? They watch the clock, resent extra assignments, and complain about their pay. These are the people who remain at the bottom all their lives, bitter and resentful, never understanding that they are the authors of their own poverty. They violate the basic law of success and then blame everyone but themselves for their failure. Going the extra mile is not about working yourself to exhaustion. It is about bringing quality, enthusiasm, and excellence to everything you do. It is about looking for ways to increase your service, improve your skill, and add value wherever you are. When you adopt this principle, you stand out from the mediocre masses like a beacon in the darkness. Opportunities seek you out. Promotion becomes inevitable. Success becomes not a matter of if, but when. Andrew Carnegie built his entire fortune on this principle. He promoted only those who demonstrated the habit of going the extra mile. He paid them not for what they did, but for their willingness to do more than they were paid for. Every person in his organization who rose to wealth and prominence did so by rendering extra service. This was not favoritism. This was the recognition of an immutable law of success. Each morning, when you declare your intention to go the extra mile, you program your mind to look for opportunities to exceed expectations. Your subconscious mind begins to generate ideas for improving your service. You develop the reputation of being someone who can be counted on to deliver more than promised. This reputation becomes your most valuable asset, worth more than money in the bank, because it guarantees that you will never lack for opportunities to prosper. I attract wealth through service to others. Here is a truth that destroys forever the false belief that success comes through taking advantage of others. Every great fortune, without exception, has been built on a foundation of service. The size of your reward in life will always be in direct proportion to the amount and quality of service you render to others. Henry Ford became one of the richest men in the world, not by exploiting others, but by serving them. His obsession was not with profit, but with providing affordable transportation to the masses. He revolutionized production methods not to increase his wealth, but to decrease the cost of automobiles so more people could afford them. The fortune that flowed to him was the natural result of the service he rendered to millions. He often said, "A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business." Money is nothing more than a symbol of service rendered. It flows to those who provide value to others and away from those who seek only to take. This is the law of compensation in action, and it operates as reliably as the law of gravity. You cannot violate it without suffering the consequences. Every person who has tried to gain wealth without providing equivalent service has ultimately failed, while every person who has focused on service has ultimately prospered. Consider Frank W. Woolworth. He built his fortune on the simple idea of serving people who had only nickels and dimes to spend. While other merchants ignored these customers as unprofitable, Woolworth saw an opportunity to serve. He created stores where people of modest means could shop with dignity and find quality goods at prices they could afford. His 5 and 10-cent stores served millions and made him one of the wealthiest men in America. J.P. Morgan accumulated his vast fortune not through manipulation, but through organization. He saw that American industry needed capital and structure to grow. He organized railroads, steel companies, and banks in ways that served both investors and the public. His wealth was the natural compensation for the valuable service he provided in building the industrial foundation of America. When you affirm each morning that you attract wealth through service to others, you align yourself with this universal law. Your subconscious mind begins to attract opportunities to serve. You develop what I call a service consciousness, an awareness of how you can add value in every situation. This consciousness is magnetic. It draws people to you, opens doors that were previously closed, and creates possibilities where none existed before. The selfish person repels wealth because they violate the fundamental law of exchange. They try to get without giving, to reap without sowing, to withdraw without first making deposits. But the person with a service consciousness attracts wealth because they understand that giving precedes receiving, that sowing precedes reaping, that deposits must be made before withdrawals. This is not just good business. This is the fundamental operating principle of the universe. When you work with this principle instead of against it, success becomes not only possible, but inevitable. I transform every failure into a stepping stone. Listen carefully, for this principle will free you forever from the fear of failure that paralyzes most people. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. This is not mere consolation. This is proven fact, demonstrated by every person who has achieved lasting success. Abraham Lincoln failed in business at age 21. He was defeated for the legislature at 22. He failed again in business at 24. His sweetheart died when he was 26. He had a nervous breakdown at 27. He was defeated for Speaker at 29, defeated for Elector at 31, defeated for Congress at 34, defeated for Senate at 46, defeated for Vice President at 47, and defeated for Senate again at 49. At age 52, he became President of the United States and saved the Union. Every failure had been preparing him, strengthening him, teaching him the lessons he would need for his ultimate destiny. Thomas Edison's teachers said he was too stupid to learn anything. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for being unproductive. When he was inventing the light bulb, he failed over 10,000 times. A reporter asked him how it felt to fail so many times. Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each failure brought him closer to success because he understood that failure is nothing more than a stepping stone to achievement. R.U. Darby learned this lesson in the most dramatic way possible. He and his uncle discovered gold during the gold rush and invested everything they had in mining equipment. After extracting enough ore to pay for the machinery, the vein of gold disappeared. They drilled desperately but found nothing. Finally, they quit and sold the machinery to a junk dealer for a few $100s. The junk dealer hired a mining engineer who calculated that the vein would be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. The junk dealer extracted millions of dollars in gold from that mine. But Darby learned from this failure. He went into insurance sales and used the lesson of persistence to become one of the most successful insurance salesmen in America. Most people accept failure as final. They quit at the first sign of defeat. They interpret temporary setback as permanent disaster. But I tell you now, there is no such thing as permanent failure except for the person who accepts it as such. Every failure is temporary. Every defeat is educational. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, but only for those who refuse to quit. Your subconscious mind has the miraculous ability to transform any experience into an asset. When you affirm each morning that you transform every failure into a stepping stone, you program your mind to look for the lesson, the opportunity, the hidden benefit in every setback. You develop what I call failure immunity, the ability to bounce back quickly from any defeat and use it as fuel for your next success. Nature requires opposition to create strength. The tree that stands against the wind develops the deepest roots. The muscle that works against resistance grows the strongest. The person who overcomes the most failures develops the greatest capacity for success. When you understand this principle and apply it consistently, you stop fearing failure and start welcoming it as a teacher, a strengthener, a necessary step on the path to achievement. You realize that success is not the absence of failure, but the transformation of failure into wisdom, strength, and determination. I am building my success with patience and persistence. In this age of instant gratification, this principle has been all but forgotten. Yet it remains as true today as it was in the beginning. All enduring success is built gradually, methodically, persistently over time. There are no shortcuts, no magic formulas, no overnight transformations. Success is a building process, and like all building, it requires patience and persistence. James J. Hill spent 20 years building his railroad empire. For 2 decades, he laid track through wilderness, overcame countless obstacles, faced financial ruin repeatedly, and endured the mockery of those who called his project Hill's Folly. But Hill understood that great achievements require time to mature. He persisted when others would have quit, remained patient when others would have rushed, and continued building when others would have abandoned the project. The Great Northern Railway became one of the most successful transportation systems in America, and Hill became one of the wealthiest men of his era. The principle of compound returns applies not only to money, but to personal development. Each day that you persist in your efforts, you add to your foundation. Each small improvement builds upon the last. Each lesson learned makes the next one easier. This compounding effect is invisible at first, which is why most people quit before they see results. But those who persist eventually reach the tipping point where all their accumulated efforts suddenly produce dramatic results. Marshall Field understood this principle. When the Great Chicago Fire destroyed his store, he faced a choice: quit or rebuild. Lesser men might have accepted defeat, but Field saw the fire not as an ending, but as an opportunity to build something better. He rebuilt with patience and persistence, creating not just a store, but a retail empire that bore his name for over a century. He often said, "The secret of success is to do common things uncommonly well." And this requires patience to master the details and persistence to maintain high standards. Impatience is the great destroyer of potential success. It causes people to abandon their efforts just before the breakthrough comes. It leads to poor decisions, rushed actions, and inevitable failure. The impatient person is like the farmer who plants seeds and then digs them up every day to see if they're growing. The patient person understands that there is a season for planting and a season for harvesting, and that one cannot be rushed into the other. Persistence is the quality that makes all other qualities effective. Without it, talent is wasted, education is meaningless, and opportunity is squandered. But with it, even ordinary ability can achieve extraordinary results. Calvin Coolidge was right when he said, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence." Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Each morning, when you affirm that you are building your success with patience and persistence, you program your mind for the long game. You immunize yourself against the disease of instant gratification. You align yourself with the natural laws of growth and development. You join the ranks of those who understand that success is not a sprint, but a marathon, not a single event, but a process, not a destination, but a journey that requires patience for the distance and persistence to keep moving forward regardless of obstacles. My mind is closed to all negative influences. Your mind is like a garden that will grow whatever seeds are planted in it. If you allow others to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, that is what will grow. But when you close your mind to negative influences and plant only seeds of faith, confidence, and possibility, you create a mental garden of success. The world is full of people who will tell you what you cannot do. They failed, so they believe you must fail. They quit, so they expect you to quit. They accepted limitation, so they try to impose limitation on you. Guglielmo Marconi faced this when he announced his idea for wireless communication. His friends were so convinced he had lost his mind that they tried to have him committed to an asylum. But Marconi had closed his mind to their negative influences. He persisted in his experiments, and today the entire world communicates wirelessly. Henry Ford faced a constant barrage of negative influences when he decided to build his automobile. Engineers proved it was impossible. Financial experts demonstrated he would go bankrupt. Even his father tried to discourage him, but Ford had developed the mental discipline to shut out all voices except the one inside him that said, "It can be done." He refused to let the doubts and fears of others poison his mind. The result was not just the Model T, but an entire industry that transformed the world. Negative thoughts are contagious. They spread from mind to mind like a disease. When you associate with negative people, when you listen to their complaints and criticisms, when you allow their fears to enter your consciousness, you become infected. Your own positive thoughts are overwhelmed, your faith is weakened, and your dreams begin to die. This is why you must guard your mental gates as carefully as you would guard your home against intruders. The technique of mental substitution is your defense against negative influences. You cannot simply resist negative thoughts. You must replace them with positive ones. When someone tells you it cannot be done, immediately recall examples of those who did it. When doubt tries to enter your mind, crowd it out with faith. When fear knocks at your door, answer with courage. This is not denial. This is the deliberate choice to focus on what empowers rather than what weakens. Your subconscious mind accepts whatever thoughts you allow to dominate your consciousness. It does not evaluate whether these thoughts are true or false, helpful or harmful. It simply accepts and acts upon them. This is why you must be ruthlessly selective about what you allow into your mind. You must become a guardian at the gate, examining every thought, every influence, every suggestion, and allowing entry only to those that support your definite chief aim. Each morning when you declare that your mind is closed to all negative influences, you activate your mental immune system. You create a protective barrier around your consciousness. You join the ranks of those who understand that we become what we think about, and therefore we must think only about what we wish to become. This is not optional for success. It is absolutely essential. The person who allows negative influences to dominate their thinking is defeated before they begin. I give thanks for this day and its opportunities. Gratitude is not merely a pleasant emotion, it is a magnetic force that attracts more of what you appreciate. This is a law of mind as reliable as any law of physics. What you focus on with emotion expands. When you focus on lack, you get more lack. When you focus on abundance, you get more abundance. Gratitude is the master key that shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. John D. Rockefeller began each day with thanksgiving, even when he was a struggling bookkeeper earning less than $1 a day. He gave thanks for his health, for his job, for his opportunities to learn and grow. This attitude of gratitude attracted to him the people and circumstances that helped him build Standard Oil. He often said that he owed his success not to his financial genius, but to his habit of appreciating what he had while working for more. The principle of appreciation works in all areas of life. What you appreciate appreciates. When you give thanks for your current blessings, however small, you create a mental atmosphere that attracts greater blessings. This is not wishful thinking. This is the practical application of mental law. Your subconscious mind is programmed to notice and attract more of whatever you focus on with emotion. Gratitude provides that emotion in its most powerful and positive form. Consider the alternative. Those who complain attract more to complain about. Those who criticize find more to criticize. Those who focus on problems discover more problems. They create a downward spiral of negativity that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They prove themselves right about how difficult life is by creating more difficulty through their mental attitude. Andrew Carnegie understood this principle deeply. Despite his humble beginnings as a bobbin boy in a cotton factory, he maintained an attitude of gratitude that attracted helpful people throughout his life. He gave thanks for every person who taught him something, every opportunity to advance, every lesson learned from failure. This gratitude created a positive mental atmosphere that drew to him the men who would help him build his steel empire. When you speak this affirmation each morning with genuine feeling, you activate one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Your subconscious mind begins to scan your environment for opportunities you might otherwise miss. You develop what I call opportunity consciousness, the ability to recognize and capitalize on the possibilities that surround you every day. These opportunities were always there, but gratitude opens your eyes to see them. The ungrateful person lives in a prison of their own making. They are surrounded by blessings they cannot see, opportunities they cannot recognize, abundance they cannot access. But the grateful person lives in an ever-expanding universe of possibility. Each thing they appreciate leads to something else to appreciate. Each opportunity recognized leads to greater opportunities. Each blessing acknowledged attracts more blessings. This is the upward spiral of success, and it begins with the simple but powerful act of giving thanks. I act with decision and courage today. Indecision and procrastination have murdered more opportunities than all other causes combined. While you hesitate, life passes by. While you deliberate, others take action. While you wait for perfect conditions, those who act with imperfect conditions claim the prizes you desire. Successful people have one characteristic that distinguishes them from failures. They make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Napoleon Bonaparte attributed his military genius to one thing. I make decisions 2 hours before my generals think they need to be made. This gave him the advantage of initiative. While his enemies were still deliberating, he was already executing. While they were reacting to his last move, he was making his next one. The universe rewards action and punishes hesitation. This is a law as immutable as gravity. When you act, even imperfectly, you set forces in motion. You create momentum. You generate feedback that allows you to adjust your course. But when you hesitate, you create nothing but stagnation. You generate only regret. You attract nothing but missed opportunities. Hernan Cortez understood this principle when he landed in Mexico with 600 men to conquer an empire of millions. His first act was to burn his ships. This left his men with only two choices: victory or death. There was no possibility of retreat, no option for second thoughts, no room for hesitation. This decisive act transformed ordinary men into conquerors. They had to succeed because failure was no longer an option. Fear is the parent of indecision. You hesitate because you fear making the wrong choice. But here is the truth that will set you free. There are no wrong choices, only lessons. Every decision, even those that lead to temporary setback, provides valuable experience. The only truly wrong choice is no choice at all. The person who makes a decision and acts upon it, even if it proves incorrect, is infinitely better off than the person who makes no decision and remains stuck in place. Theodore Roosevelt built his entire life on the principle of decisive action. His motto was, "Do what you can with what you have, where you are." He didn't wait for perfect conditions. He didn't hesitate until all risk was removed. He acted with the resources available, learned from the results, and adjusted his approach. This decisiveness carried him from a sickly child to President of the United States. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in the presence of fear. Every person who has achieved anything worthwhile has felt fear. The difference is that successful people feel the fear and act anyway. They understand that courage is like a muscle that grows stronger with use. Each time you act despite fear, you build your courage for the next challenge. Each decisive action makes the next one easier. When you affirm each morning that you act with decision and courage, you program your mind for action rather than hesitation. You prime yourself to recognize opportunities and seize them before they disappear. You join the ranks of the doers rather than the talkers, the actors rather than the reactors, the decisive rather than the doubtful. You align yourself with the force of initiative that moves the world forward and rewards those who dare to lead rather than follow. I am becoming the person I was meant to be. This final affirmation encompasses all the others, for success is not merely about achieving external goals, but about fulfilling your highest potential. Every person born into this world has unique gifts, talents, and capacities that are meant to be developed and expressed. Your life's true purpose is to become the fullest expression of who you are capable of being. Booker T. Washington was born into slavery, but he refused to let his circumstances define his destiny. He understood that within him lay the potential for greatness, regardless of external conditions. Each day, he worked not just on external achievements, but on developing himself. He educated himself, refined his character, and expanded his capabilities. He became one of the most influential educators and leaders of his time, not because circumstances favored him, but because he was committed to becoming who he was meant to be. The principle of growth is fundamental to all life. You are either growing or dying. There is no standing still. When you stop developing, stop learning, stop improving, you begin to deteriorate. But when you commit to continuous growth, you align yourself with the creative force of the universe. You become an ever-expanding expression of human potential. Benjamin Franklin understood this principle better than perhaps any American. He created a system of 13 virtues and worked on developing one each week. He examined himself daily, noting where he had fallen short and resolving to do better. This commitment to continuous self-improvement transformed him from a printer's apprentice into one of the most accomplished men in history: inventor, diplomat, philosopher, scientist, and founding father. Small daily improvements compound into dramatic transformation. You don't become the person you're meant to be through a single dramatic act, but through thousands of small acts of self-development. Each book you read, each skill you develop, each weakness you overcome, each strength you build contributes to your evolution. The person you are today is the result of all your yesterdays. The person you will be tomorrow is being created by what you do today. This phrase aligns your conscious and subconscious minds toward continuous evolution. When you declare each morning that you are becoming the person you were meant to be, you activate what I call the law of becoming. Your subconscious mind begins to reveal opportunities for growth. You attract teachers, books, experiences that help you develop. You find yourself making choices that support your evolution rather than your stagnation. Most people settle for far less than they are capable of becoming. They allow their environment to determine their development. They accept the limitations others place upon them. They stop growing when they leave school, stop learning when they get a job, stop evolving when they achieve a modest comfort. They die at 30 and are buried at 70, having spent 40 years as walking corpses of who they could have been. But you were not meant for mediocrity. Within you lies genius waiting to be awakened, greatness waiting to be expressed, potential waiting to be realized. The same life force that creates all miracles in nature flows through you. Your only task is to cooperate with this force, to remove the barriers of doubt and fear and limitation that prevent its full expression through you. When you speak this affirmation with deep feeling, you make a sacred commitment to your own evolution. You declare that you will not settle, will not stop, will not accept less than your highest potential. You join the ranks of those who understand that life is a journey of becoming, and that the joy is not in reaching some final destination, but in the continuous unfolding of your capabilities. You align yourself with the creative intention that brought you into existence, and you promise to honor that intention by becoming all that you were meant to be. Now, let me share with you the sacred ritual that will transform these 11 phrases from mere words into living forces in your life. This is not a casual practice to be done half-heartedly while you rush through your morning. This is a deliberate act of mental programming that requires your full presence and participation. Rise each morning at least 30 minutes before you must begin your daily activities. This time is not negotiable. If you are not willing to invest 30 minutes in your own transformation, then you are not serious about success. The men who built great fortunes and achieved lasting success all understood that the first hour of the day belongs to mental preparation. They would no more begin their day without this preparation than a warrior would enter battle without his weapons. Find a private place where you will not be disturbed. This is crucial. The subconscious mind requires concentration to receive new programming. Interruptions break the connection and weaken the effect. Lock the door if necessary. Inform your family that this time is sacred. Guard it as you would guard your most precious possession, for indeed it is. Stand before a mirror and look directly into your own eyes. This is important. The eyes are the windows of the soul, and when you speak to yourself while maintaining eye contact, you create a powerful circuit of communication between your conscious and subconscious minds. Many people find this uncomfortable at first because they have never truly looked at themselves. Persist through any discomfort. This direct communication with yourself is essential for transformation. Speak each phrase aloud with all the emotion and conviction you can summon. The words without feeling are dead. Your subconscious mind responds not to the words themselves, but to the emotional vibration behind them. When you say, "I am the master of my fate," feel the power of that truth surging through you. When you declare, "My definite chief aim guides my every action," see your goal as already achieved and feel the joy of accomplishment. This emotional intensity is what drives the words deep into your subconscious mind, where they can take root and grow. Repeat each phrase 3 times before moving to the next. The first time, speak it to establish the thought. The second time, speak it with increased emotion to deepen the impression. The third time, speak it with absolute conviction as an established fact in your life. This repetition with increasing intensity creates the neural pathways that transform thought into habit, habit into character, and character into destiny. After speaking all 11 phrases, remain quiet for 5 minutes. This is the period of impression when your subconscious mind absorbs and begins to process what you have declared. Do not think of problems or plans during this time. Simply remain in a state of quiet expectancy, knowing that the seeds you have planted are already beginning to germinate in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. The transformation will not happen overnight. Your subconscious mind has been programmed by years of negative conditioning, and it requires at least 30 days of consistent practice to establish new patterns. Miss a single day during these first 30 days, and you must begin again. This is not punishment, but simple recognition of how the mind works. Consistency is essential for creating new neural pathways. After 30 days, the practice will begin to feel natural. After 60 days, you will notice changes in your thinking and behavior. After 90 days, others will begin to comment on the transformation they see in you. After 6 months of faithful practice, you will be a different person, not in your essential nature, but in your expression of that nature. You will have become someone who naturally thinks and acts in alignment with success. Many men have written to tell me of the miraculous changes this morning ritual has brought to their lives. A salesman who could barely earn enough to feed his family became the top producer in his company. A laborer who had accepted his station in life developed an invention that made him wealthy. A timid clerk transformed into a confident executive. These were not miracles in the supernatural sense, but the natural result of aligning the mind with the laws of success. Do not make the mistake of thinking this is too simple to be effective. The greatest truths are always simple. The problem is not in understanding them, but in applying them. Knowledge without application is worthless. The world is full of educated failures who know what to do, but don't do what they know. Don't be one of them. Begin tomorrow morning. Set your alarm 30 minutes earlier. Prepare your private space tonight. Write out the 11 phrases if necessary until you have them memorized. Your entire life has been leading you to this moment of decision. Will you continue as you have been, hoping that somehow things will change? Or will you take command of your own mind and create the change you desire? The choice is yours, but understand this. If you do not take control of your mental programming, others will program you for their purposes. If you do not design your own life plan, you will fall into someone else's plan, and guess what they have planned for you? Not much. I close with this final thought. You now possess the morning ritual that has transformed ordinary men into extraordinary achievers. You have the same 24 hours each day that Carnegie had, that Ford had, that Edison had. The only difference between you and them is how you use the first 30 minutes after you awaken. They use this time to program their minds for success. Will you? The chains that have bound you to mediocrity are already beginning to weaken. Tomorrow morning you will speak the words that will break them forever. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, know that you are about to embark on the greatest adventure of your life. The